Well, as you can see, I want to talk about Foodie Beauty. But before I get any further, this just kills me. I was doing, as I say, my research. So I was looking at like foodies, live streams and whatnot. And whenever she wears this hijab, it just drives me nuts. It makes me think of like, she's going scuba diving and she's got like that tight cap on her head, right? So I'm showing my husband. I say, look at this hijab. Does this just not drive you nuts? And look at how her face is. And, I'm going on and on, being my petty self. And he says, it reminds me of when Tom was that seal on Tom and Jerry, and now I cannot unsee it. Tell me that this does not look the same, that Chantal does not look like Tom as the seal right here. That's perfect. That is the perfect analogy, isn't it? I cannot unsee it now. I've just been looking at this dying for about an hour now, and it's still funny. Anyways, she went live, of course, for a few hours, and she was saying, she has to stay in because it's raining, and she can't take Scooty out in the rain. Because if you remember, sometime back she went out on her scooter in the rain, and it pooped out on her, and then somebody had to give her a ride home and all that nonsense. It's not like, she's saying she has to stay in. I'm quite certain she didn't want to leave the house anyways. She just was using this as an excuse. Then she gets to talking. Someone must have mentioned the drama in her chat, must have mentioned about Amber Lynn Reed and Rosie. And Chantal gets to saying how she doesn't like Rosie. She thinks Rosie is just jealous. She says Rosie tried to insert herself into all of the drama that surrounded the Paradise documentary and the man Stefan. Now, if you didn't know, Paradise is this place in Nevada, I believe in Las Vegas. This man, Stefan, is his home, and he invites very large women to be there. And it's a positive space for women that are very large. And there was a documentary made about it, about some things that not very good going on there. Allegations of some essay and whatnot. So, and Rosie did try very hard to insert herself in this, and then she had the teeny tiny part of the documentary where she says, like, they don't tell you the price you pay, which Chantal is still obsessed with that. So she's saying Rosie is jealous because Amber Lynn went live with Stefan on TikTok, and so Foodie thinks that Rosie is jealous because Stefan talks to Amber Lynn and this and that. But really, I think, if we want to talk about jealousy, I think old Foodie is jealous of Rosie because Rosie had that teeny tiny part in the documentary. But anything to talk about. The main takeaway from the whole confusion there was Chantal says she doesn't like Rosie or Amber Lynn. She likes neither one of them. She says it's all drama, and all she hears from either one of them is blah, blah, blah. Kind of like what we hear from Foodie. Then someone says in the chat, they mentioned how she is constantly adjusting her hijab. Again, as you can see, that thing is too tight. She looks like a sausage in a skin. It's disgusting. And she is constantly adjusting it under her second chin there. And she says, well, it's supposed to be worn like whatever. And then she compares it to, she says, well, this is so much more comfortable than the wigs I used to wear. They were so itchy and scratchy, and they would get tangled, and because she didn't take care of those wigs. And they were very cheap wigs, you could tell, in her, in the days before Salah. So she goes on to say that she's taking a break from walking. Taking a break from walking, something that all of us that have the ability to, all of us do it. But she's taking a break from it. Disgusting. She is determined to become bedbound at this point because her mobility is next to nothing at this point. So she decides to have the chat time her how long she can stand. She makes content out of how long she can stand. So she gets up and she is looking as large as ever. It appears since she's been on her Ozempic, I will go out on a limb and say she has gained weight. Because it surely appears she has gained weight. So she's standing there, and she makes it all of 4 minutes and about 20 seconds. That was as long as she could stand. And she starts, oh, my back is cramping up. Oh, my back. And then she throws herself down onto the couch as she does. This woman cannot just sit down. She throws herself on everything. She throws herself in their chair in her kitchen. She throws herself on her couch. She throws herself on her scooter. She throws herself on her bed. She never learned just to sit, I guess. But she says the reason her back hurts is because she carries all her weight in her stomach, and it pulls down. And most of her weight is in her lower stomach and, as she would say, her fupa. It's disgusting to think that anybody's female anatomy could be that large. Let's just leave it there. Then she gets to talking, as they're talking about, well, if you can't stand, how do you shower? So she goes on to say about how she quickly showers. And then she admits that she does not wash all of her body parts, just the important ones. She didn't say what those happen to be, thank goodness. But she says she has not washed her feet in probably 34 years. So she's one of those, doesn't wash her legs probably or not. She probably goes in there, washes her underarms, her, parts where she uses the restroom, and that's about it. She goes in there basically and takes a whore bath in her shower. That would be my guess. But to come on to say you don't wash all the parts because they wash themselves. How do they wash themselves? See, she thinks that the soap, when she rinses it off like from her underarms or whatever, will travel down her body and wash the rest of her body. That is disgusting. She's 42 years old and can't even shower right. And she doesn't use a toilet tissue. She uses this bottle that she says is a bidet. So she needs to be cleaning good, because a bidet is not taking care of it all. But it was disgusting. Then she gets to complaining about her insurance. She has yet another Libre, her continuous glucose monitor, because I don't think she even looked at the instruction manual, because how has she had 3 of them and they've all fallen off the same day? She is purposely making these fall off because, see, when she has it on, I think that it's also transmitting this information, her sugar levels, to her doctor. And that's why I think she's purposely making them fall off. Because there's no way that thousands of other people can wear these monitors with no problems and have it for the whole month as it's intended. But Foodie, 3 of them, all fall off the first day. So she's not even trying to put it on properly. So then she gets to complaining about her insurance, claiming that she has to spend another $2,000 to meet her deductible before anything will be paid for. And she is complaining because when she had the blood test at home, because she was too lazy to go to a lab to have her blood drawn, she had it done at home, they have not sent her a bill for that, but she claims she's already paid for it. So she has to argue and fight with them about this. Just ridiculous. Then somebody in the chat says, the cat BG comes up on the island in front of her, and they say, BG's looking for water, and she completely spazzes out. Because she says, no, the cat is not looking for water. The cat has water sources, and she is not an animal, she is not mean to animals, and this and that. And then she goes into about how she gave her cats away to go run off to the Middle East to be with Salah, and there was that whole fiasco of somebody trying to, I haven't even looked into the whole situation, but somebody had the cat put down, or the cat had passed away, but they were still collecting the money for the cat. But regardless, and she has come to peace with all of that. How did she come to peace with having this? The one cat was 19 or 20 years old, and she gave this cat, this faithful cat that she had for 20 years, to go run off and be with a man. But she's come to peace with that now. She is not good. She is a rotten person. Rotten. I'm not going to give away, if I had an animal for 20 years, I'm not going to give it away, especially in the very last years of its life, so I can go and run to be with a man. And she was recently talking about these romance scammers, not even realizing that her quote-unquote husband is one of them. And she claims that these women that don't realize they're being scammed, they're just basically stupid. She may have even used the R word. But that's what we have for Chantal the seal. But yeah, take a look again. Don't tell me that she does not look like this seal. This is good. Let me know your thoughts.